Hey everyone, this is Jesse Lee, and I'm here to do my testimony live. So sit back, and I hope you enjoy the story. If you got any questions and stuff after the story, I will look through the chats if I can figure out how, and I will go ahead and answer some questions. Let's see. Trying to figure out how to enable the top chat so I can see it. Okay, well, maybe I'll just have you guys send me the questions in my Facebook, or you can make comments in the YouTube section. Okay, so it's called From Crystal to Christ. I'm an ex-meth addict. Crystal meth was a part of my life for a year and a half. After 2 weeks of beginning it, I was going really hard and heavy, doing about as much of that drug as people who have been on it for 20 years. I hadn't shot up at this point at all, and I had been doing it in every other way, shape, and form I could think of, whether it was eating it, or snorting it, or smoking it. Oh, hey, I see it. Awesome, the top chat's working. Thanks, Truth. It's good to see you, brother. Anyone else who's here, say hi, and I'll give you the shout out. Okay, so the story really starts, honestly, 2 weeks before I was off of it. So here's how it started. For the first time in my entire year and a half of this addiction, I actually ran into a dry spell for more than a 2-hour time frame. And I went into a really bad, what some would call a psychosis. I call it demonic possession. The come down was so excruciating that I was pacing around in tight circles. You could say that I was making a ice fisherman circle. It was about that big. And it was round and around and around in the living room. And I was wagging my finger in my face violently. And I was yelling things at myself that were not nice, such as, shut the F up, you're effing annoying me, I'm gonna effing kill you. Now the crazy part about it is that through the whole thing, and this lasted for 4 hours, I felt like I was chained in the back seat of myself. I was watching this whole thing happen. And I couldn't do anything to stop it. I could hear the words coming out of my mouth. I didn't quite agree with them, but I believe that I was in too defeated of a state of mind to actually take control. Because of the way this felt, because of how it felt like I was watching myself go through this and not actually be able to stop this, this is why I say it most likely was a demonic possession. So after about the 4th hour of this craziness and my other meth head roommates running into their bedrooms, shutting doors, isolating, scared, a knock came at the front door of the place I was living. Immediately my pacing stopped, and I heard this voice in my head. It was sort of serpentine, kind of like this. And it told me to open the door, to take what they were giving me, and to act like I had been expecting them. Well, I opened the door, and I saw that there were 2 people, and they were holding magazines. That already made the word they and take what they are giving had already made it true. So I took what they were giving me, and I looked at them and said, I thought you were coming yesterday. They got really spooked. They went down the stairs very quickly, went next door, didn't say a word, didn't even say goodbye. The magazines that were given to me was Watchtower and Awake. I realized at that moment that my head was quiet. I was not pacing around anymore. I actually had control over myself for a moment. And I knew I didn't want to go back into that state. So I sat down and I read these magazines. Well, really just one article. Now, the article I opened up to, I now know is a parable of Jesus. But at the time, I didn't know that much about the Bible. I knew enough where I knew most of the basic Bible stories. I didn't know the deeper things, like the parables and the sayings. That wasn't taught to me in church, and I had already fallen away for a long time. So when I opened this magazine of this story, all I saw was a storyline about pearls, merchants buying, selling, trading, money. There was no description at the end or at the beginning of the story that said that this was a parable of Jesus. The storyline itself didn't mention even the title God. So, knowing that these people were supposed to represent God, deep down inside, I knew that. I got really upset, and I crammed that article in my hands and I threw it across the room. It fell behind the secondary couch that was across from me in the living room, between the wall. And I yelled at the top of my lungs, I don't know what this has to do with God. I humped myself on the couch, laid out, kind of almost a temper tantrum style. Where I was playing a game of cards. I didn't know the game and I didn't know the rules. But the people I was playing against, sorry about that, a fly landed on my screen. The game I was playing against 4 people. I didn't know them when I woke up. I did know them as my friends in the dream. They were happily telling me I was winning. Okay. It caused me to look in my hand, because I'm not used to people being happy that somebody else is winning against them. And, sorry, fly. In my hand, I had 4 cards. Only 4. There's that number again. And I had 4 aces. Every ace was normal except what would have been the ace of spades. Instead of it being the ace of spades, it was an ace with a picture of the Catholic Jesus. And underneath it, really tiny italic letters and quotations. They were so small, you would have needed a magnifying glass to read them. But I could read them clearly in the dream. It said, "Come, follow me." As soon as it registered that I had read it, I was awake. Now, note, I had a clock watching issue. A lot of my days spent on meth, they were collective days. I would stay awake for 13 days straight, guys. No eating, no sleep, barely any water. I think I was drinking coffee. Never once did I have a dream when I was having a come down, by the way. I wake up from this dream, this clock watching habit that I have. It's because I had really terrible hallucinations of bugs crawling around all over the ground wherever I would be, whether it was the carpet or the grass. Didn't matter. Hey, Chris. It's good to see you, bro. So, because of that, I was always looking at my watch to find out when the sun would come up. I totally did not want to be sleeping and have these massive amounts of bugs crawl all over me and God knows what else. That being stated, I had only been asleep for 5 minutes. I fell asleep, dreamed, and woke up, all in that time span, 5 minutes. And I woke up freaking out. I didn't know what the heck that was supposed to mean for me, and with the life I'd led, an invitation didn't feel like an invitation. The sneeze of truth. I'll explain that in another one. So, as I receive this invitation, I see it more as a condemnation. My view is skewed. I run out the door. It's winter time. I grab my coat. Still daylight. And I go out and see if I can find my drug again. This time, one of my dealers is holding. Thank you. I obtained my drug, and I did it. And I started going down the street, looking for junk. I was thinking I was treasure hunting, but really I was picking up stupid rusty metal here and wires there. None of the items I ever picked up really had any value. I had no idea anymore what value was. I had been reduced to a beast. An animal. Probably less than an animal. Because I didn't even clean myself or eat. But this day was a little different already, as it were. And it got a little more different. As I walked down the street, instead of being drawn to shiny metal objects, I remember being drawn to this business card that had fallen on the ground, apparently. And I was in Fairfield, California. It's not the cleanest town, actually. Usually anything found on the street, paper-wise, has already been stepped on, dirty. This wasn't. It was clean, crisp, like it had just been dropped. Now, I picked that up and I turned it over, and I was shocked. There was that same italic writing with quotations, but it said something different. It said, "I will protect your goings and your comings all through your days." And that's all it said. There was no writing on there as to who printed it, or even what the quote was from. But I somehow had this strange feeling that it was relating to the dream I had just had, and that it was my dream made into a tangible reality. And I picked it up and I said, "God, is this you? Do you actually have business cards?" I put it in my pocket. I continued. As I continued down the street, there was a leaf pile. And there was this corner of a piece of paper, kind of dirty, and I was drawn to pick it up. It was a pamphlet to a convent, and I kind of giggled. Because when I was a kid, I had a dream that I wanted to be a priest. I was raised in the Catholic Church. When I had told people that I wanted to be a priest, they said, "No, you have to be a nun." And they said women can't be priests. So as I pick this pamphlet up and I see what it's for, it's a pamphlet for this convent, I have this flashback. It's probably the first time I had a flashback in a long time about my childhood. And I was like, God, I'm not going to go be a nun. I was raised, by the way, with a myth. I'm sure some of you have heard it, that nuns wear black underwear. And for some reason, I still believed that myth back then. And that was the reason I used. I said, nope, I'm not going to wear black underwear. Sorry, it's not happening. But I still put that pamphlet in my pocket with the card. Nothing really too spectacular beyond that moment happened. Now, I got to back up. There was something I forgot to mention. This 2-week time frame that we're talking about, it's actually a countdown. The dream I had happened 3 days after I decided to make an appointment with a known intravenous user. Because I'd felt that the meth wasn't working the way that it did in the beginning, I had chosen that I was going to shoot up for the first time. But because of a panic disorder that I'd had, I did this thing in a 2-week planning period so that I could get my mind wrapped around what this might be like when I do it, so that I don't like have a heart attack or something from fear. Now, that dream, like I said, it happened 3 days after I made that appointment. We have a 2-week countdown going on. After that day, nothing really spectacular. That week ends. Second week begins. Now, in that second week, the very beginning of it, a friend of mine who was on parole, he called me up. He was super excited. His parole officer didn't have to ride his butt anymore because he found a place to live and a job, and they were both in the same spot. He was super excited, and he wanted me to come and see it. So he picked me up, and I do. I go out there. I'm not paying attention to anything, by the way, in the whole trip out there. I'm more digging in my hands with a blade. I'm so fried at this point. My brain is so gone that I actually believe that the dried sweat on my palms, I could smoke and get high. And that's what I was doing, trying to get the flex. Well, we end up where we're going, and I don't realize it until there's a horse head coming into the window of the truck, and it touches noses with me, and I'm like, oh my God, horses, and I just fling open the door. I scared the horse kind of rears up, runs away. Sorry, horse. And I'm just like in awe. I'm looking around. At this point, I hadn't really seen such open land and rolling hills yet in my life. I come from the flatlands. I come from Chicago. And, hey, Christy. It's good to have you. And, so when I'm looking around, I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. My friend shows me around a little bit, and then he's like, hey, if you want to look at more of the property, there's a 4-wheeler ATV over there. I'm sure you know how to ride one. I didn't. The fact that he told me it was automatic helped me look for the buttons. But I got it going. I got it out into the back area of the ranch. What he didn't know, and I didn't tell him, was that I was still high as a kite. No good, guys. Don't ride an ATV under the influence. Or anything, for that matter. Don't get under the influence, unless it's the spirit. So, I'm riding this ATV. I'm having fun. I'm like, woo! I don't know the layout of the land, and there's a big ditch coming up, nice and deep, and I hit it. I fly over the handlebars. I hit my ribs onto the handlebars, bruising them, getting my skin scraped up a bit, but my clothing isn't torn. So on the outside, I look fine. And at this point, I'm all about hiding my true nature, hiding all the things that I've done bad, don't want to get in trouble. So I don't say a word. I swear that God gave me Samson strength. In that moment, that ATV was nose down in this ditch. It was almost 90 degrees. And somehow I was able to lift it up by the handlebars and get it out of that ditch. And I rode it back. I hid my pain. Now, a little while passes and my friend says, okay, it's time to go. It's getting dark. I get in the truck and my heart's sinking. I don't want to leave. The horses, the land. The whole time I was out there, I actually had let myself come down. I didn't smoke the whole time I was on that ranch in that day. And it was probably the first time that I had willingly not smoked. Probably the first time in a year and a half I hadn't thought about it. So I asked him, do you think maybe you might be able to get me out there? I want to do what you're doing. I want to get away from the people I'm around. He goes, well, I only just got out here. So, thanks. I only just got out here. So, I'm gonna have to see. I don't know if he'll listen to my suggestion. Okay. He drops me off. Days pass. At this point, I'm getting to the point where I think it's not going to happen. I'm not going to go out there. The night before the day, when I was going to shoot up, my friend called me up. He said, all right, I've been able to talk with the owner, and he said, it's fine, but you're going to have to quit doing meth. My heart kind of sank at that point. I didn't want to quit doing meth. I just wanted to get away from the people. I'm being honest. So, fingers crossed. I'm like, sure, because I'm on the phone. He doesn't see me. I packed my things. I made sure that I had my pipe fully loaded. I had enough that on a normal day, that was my day's worth. But if I babied it, it would last me 2 days until I can get a dealer to come out there. He got me. I got in the truck. It was nighttime. And I'm trying so hard. And I think I'm doing it well. I think I'm doing it well. Hey, Carmine. It's good to see you, bro. I've got this twist down. I've got that turn down. I've got that landmark. I got that street sign. We're coming up to the final turn, guys. Now, I want you to remember, I didn't pay attention the first time I went out there. So I had no idea what the name of this place was. But as we make this final turn, the headlights shine on the sign, and this time I'm paying attention. I'm like, ooh, address. Then I see the name. The name of this ranch was literally 4 Aces Horse Ranch. You all remember the dream, right? My game of cards. So at this point, my heart, mitosis, divides itself, goes one way up my throat, one way down into my stomach. And yes, synchronicity is right. My friend takes the long, straight driveway down, and this driveway feels like it's taking forever because of what I've just seen. It's like time has frozen. We finally get where the barn is, and there's this little tiny trailer, and my friend says, okay, this is going to be your spot where you sleep, and I'll see you in the morning, and we'll start the day. Okay. He leaves, and oh my God. I look up, and I'm just like, what is going on here? And I suddenly had this feeling, again, where like an invitation really feels like it's gonna be more of an axe to my neck. I looked up, I threw my pipe to the ground, stamped on it, and yelled, if I go back to meth, it's your fault, Jesus. I didn't ask to come out here to quit. I've tried quitting 3 times already. 3 different ways. Didn't work. I can't do it. And here you're putting me into a position where I'm going to be having to be forced to try again. And here I'm going to fail all over again. So you know what? Forget you. If I go back, it's all on you. You did it. And I went to bed that night. I was on that horse ranch for 8.5 months. I witnessed horse abuse. I witnessed employee abuse. I was a victim of employee abuse. I almost had my life taken a couple times there. Yet, not once. This is what rocks my world, even today. Not once did the thought, oh God, I need some meth, ever come into my head. Instead, the thought that did come was, oh my goodness, how is it that this is happening? How am I not thinking about that? I don't feel that way. This is so weird. This is amazing. And, finally, after 8.5 months, for the first time in my life, I heard the still small voice. Or at least, I was aware of hearing it. And he said, it's time to go. So I packed my things, I went to my friend, and I said, I have to leave. My friend didn't want me to leave. He was like, no, you're going to go back to the stuff. You're going to go back. And I'm like, dude, no, I'm not. It's done. And this place is done. I've got to go. I already been shown what I'm supposed to do. I left. He took me where I was told to go within. 2 months later, that ranch was shut down. I don't know how. I don't know who made a call. Fortunately for my friend, he had left a month after me. Because anybody who was on that ranch at the time that it got shut down, they got indicted for charges and different things. That was 13.5 years ago, guys. There's been not one single relapse. Now, I cannot say that all 13.5 years have been without the thought, oh my God, I need some meth. They haven't. They're my 7th year mark and my 8th year mark. There were a couple of instances, trials that were tossed my way, that really, really were about to break me. And I remember looking up, and again, here I go, at the top of my lungs. This is how I do it. I'm raw. I don't hide my emotion here. And at the top of my lungs, I said, God, you better give me a reason to care, because I am about to go back to meth. This has only had to happen twice so far. And both times, within minutes, he would send someone to minister to me. Even straight down to a police officer. And I'm really grateful. I'm grateful that God is real, that Jesus is who he said he was. I'm grateful that God is not what I've been taught. I'm grateful that God loves me irregardless of how far I can fall. And I'm grateful that God is giving me this opportunity right now to tell you guys this. Truth be told, if this thing doesn't process right on YouTube and does not get to be seen by anybody else but you guys, I'm okay with that. I can try it again another time. I'm just grateful to be able to try it now. I'm grateful to have my life. And I'm really hoping that what I have to say today can help people realize that they don't have to have the church to lead them to God. That God will find them. And that they can realize they're loved no matter how deep they fall. God doesn't hate anyone. It says that he hates the sinners. No. It's not true. If he did, Jesus wouldn't have given his life. And he wouldn't have saved me. Alright guys, that's the end of the story. So, any Q&A here? No? Alright. Well, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And, I'll be seeing you soon again up here. I'll see you guys later. Peace, love, shalom.